So, the reason that we have two Gospels today is a sort of unprecedented interaction in the life cycle of the church. It doesn't normally happen this way, but I'd rather the Annunciation fall now than during Holy Week, because that gets even messier. But we commemorate today both St. John Climacus, or St. John of the Ladder, as he's known because he wrote the book, The Ladder of Divine Ascent, and also the Annunciation of the Most Holy Mother of God. And there's a connection that I found between the two of them that I'll share with you a little bit later. But I wanted to begin with exactly why it had to be Mary. Technically, it could have been any Jane Doe in the entire history of the gospel to have been chosen to bear Christ. But the reason that it was Mary is that she made herself worthy. We tend to think of things like this as sort of a superhuman or divine intervention, where God needed this to happen so badly, he kind of forced everything into place. But through the theology of the church, we know that God doesn't mess around with our free will. We have the choice, and he can't make us do one thing or another. He doesn't sort of move us around like chess pieces. And that's why at the end of this morning's Gospel of the Annunciation, Mary says, yes, let it be done to me according to your word. God didn't tell her this is going to happen and not give her a choice. Her true devotion was in saying, yes, let it happen. Let it be so. And the reason that Mary was the one that chose him is because, aside from being born into a life of sin, as we all of us humans are born immediately having to deal with the sin of Adam, this fallen nature of man, away from divine grace. But aside from being born into that sin, Mary lived an utterly sinless life. Now, this wasn't by divine intervention. God didn't keep her from all sin. She did it herself. It took her work. It took her effort to be found worthy of bearing God. And we see this not only we sort of see a ramp up to her ultimate sinlessness, her ability to avoid any sin. Joachim and Anna, her parents, were holy people, and asking God for a child, not because they needed one, but because they wanted one. They wanted to share in the joy of bringing a child into being. And they prayed to God, and God found them worthy, and miraculously allowed Anna to bear a child. And they, recognizing this as a miracle, said, God has given us this child, we will give that back to God. We will give back to him for all that he has done for us. All the prayers that he has answered for us, we will provide back to him. And so they brought Mary to the temple, to be raised there, to live there. And under her learning there, under her strenuous work, that is how she attained a sinless life. And I actually learned this next part from Father Ivan as he spoke at the Vespers for Annunciation a few weeks ago. But Mary was of the age where she had to leave the temple, but wanting to remain intact in her virginity, to keep herself only for God, she was betrothed to Joseph. That way, she could remain a virgin. She could essentially keep up this ascetic life in a home while she was outside of the temple. And after having interacted in this way, after having made the choice to stay sinless, that is when God sends the Archangel Gabriel to say, it is you who will bear Christ. It is you who will bear this Son of God. And we see that in her answer of yes, her devotion, she becomes the greatest of all of us, the greatest of any. That she, the only human to have ever attained true sinlessness, was made ultimately holy by her holding of the incarnate God, by her holding of the Holy Spirit as it came down upon her. And she, in this new role that she has attained to, being the greatest among us, becomes the connection that I wanted to make today. St. John of the Ladder wrote his book, The Ladder of Divine Ascent, based on the Old Testament account of Jacob. Jacob saw a ladder ascending from earth to heaven, and angels ascending and descending upon it, so that they might come to be among men to help us to do the Lord's will on earth. And John took this imagery and wrote a way to sort of allow us to step by step make our lives holy, make it to heaven. Well, we understand that Mary becomes this ladder. Mary is the link between earth and heaven. Having been truly born as a human, as one of us, born into sin, she's the only one to have ever escaped from it, to have ever lived a sinless life, and being made holy, she now bridges that gap. She is now the ladder by which all things between heaven and earth ascend and descend. All of our prayers come to her so that she may bring them to her Son, so that she may ask, as she did at the wedding of Cana, that even though it is not his time to work a miracle, that he do so, that he have mercy on everybody present. And this is why we honor her so greatly in the church, that we recognize the struggle that she went through in attaining to a sinless life, and we recognize her continued importance, being in the heavenly kingdom, sitting at the throne of her Son, and always beseeching him for our best interests. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Glory be to Jesus Christ.